How is this new part of my life going to be different? How is this going to be a stronger version? Well, I feel like quiet time is different in different seasons of your life, and God's word and applying it to your life. Well, that's all fine and dandy, but sometimes you open up the word and you don't understand what the word is trying to tell you. And I've heard all these stories about how people come to faith by simply reading their Bible. That doesn't make any sense. And I'm starting to think they're kind of right. It doesn't make any sense. Like, can I trust this? Because if I can't trust this, then who's to say I can trust the rest of your words? That you said this is your word. You said this is true. You said that the Bible is inspired by God. You said that it won't be altered. And here we are 2,000 years later. I don't get it. How am I supposed to continue doing this? You have to show me what this means. I am trying, and I don't understand. How is this going to help me? My son probably wanted my phone or something, and I couldn't listen to my phone. I'd already been reading for a while. I was like, all right, we'll just come back to it the next day. And this is where the chicken eggs come into play. Pause for dramatic effect. It's just so much deeper than your typical Georgia Southern Baptist teachings, man. Just kind of felt like it came to like a halt when I would pray for my husband in the name of Jesus for his night terrors to dissipate. And slowly but surely, they would fade away, and they would fade away a little quicker, and then they would gone in the name of Jesus. That lit a flame in both of us. If you were where I was at 10 years ago, I would say, what are you talking about? It makes no sense right now. But it's so real. He's coming home and he's saying words like kingdom worthiness. Who are you? Are you my husband that's been quiet his whole life? It's a whole nother level of, oh, this is real. Okay, I guess you talk to God, but really learn more about it. There's more, it's so more in depth than, all right, well, God, thank you for this day. No, man, there's so much more than that. Don't be a child. I mean, you have to have child faith, but grow in your faith. And one of the reasons God has it in his hands is because we asked him to hold it in his hands. But peace isn't happiness. Like, peace isn't having all the circumstances just work out for you. Peace is an action. It's a choice. So this might be a message for you saying, it's time to focus. Get off the plateau and start climbing, brother. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Unqualified. I'm your host, Destiny Deal, and we are on episode 27, which is crazy. I know that I did something right last episode because I lost a subscriber, which means I'm doing something right. Or someone's channel got deleted. I don't know how that works, but so if you're doing something right in the name of Jesus, you're not going to win the popularity test. So that means I'm on the right track. At least that's how I'm putting it in my head. I kind of knew with that last episode, I was really crossing some lines. I had to do like a whole trigger warning post before the episode started. So I knew I was treading water where the sharks were, but I was okay with it. And at first when I saw that, I was like, oh, great. I was kind of like, oh, but if anything, it's fine. I don't care. I get it. It gives me more confidence in a way, because like I said, it makes me feel like I'm doing the right thing. So that's fun. That has nothing to do with today's episode, to be honest. So let's get started. So God has just been teaching me a lot, and it is answers that I've asked for, but really wasn't expecting it. Was really just gonna have faith and be like, okay, well, I don't understand this, but I have faith and trust in you because of what we've been through together and how you got me through things. The last couple of years have been pretty hectic of my life with a new child, obviously, my first child. So a lot of things were new, a lot of difficulties health-wise. So a lot of opportunity to learn to trust God. And that's kind of where I'm at. But man, it's so beautiful on the other side. It really is. And so now I'm getting to a point where I'm like, okay, I'm in a new chapter of life. I feel like, let's take everything we learned from the last chapter and obviously the chapters before, and let's apply it to this new chapter. Like, how is this new part of my life going to be different? How is this going to be a stronger version of Destiny? Pun not intended. but pun totally intended. If you don't know, my name's Destiny. But anyway, the answer to what my how was is something you hear growing up all the time when people say, do your quiet time, right? Do your quiet time, do your quiet time, what is quiet time? Well, I feel like quiet time is different in different seasons of your life. So for this season of my life, quiet time is what most people perceive as quiet time. Getting quiet, praying, opening up the Word, learning about the history and God's Word and applying it to your life. Well, that's all fine and dandy, but sometimes you open up the Word and you don't understand what the Word is trying to tell you. So in this season of my life, that's where I'm at, and that's where the fun part is going to go in the story. The whole reason that inspired me for this episode is what God's teaching me through the Word and how we got there. But before we got to that part of the quiet time, I'm not really if you can't tell, I'm not a very good discipline type of person. So like, I'm not good at routines, doing things on time. If I have a deadline given to me from another person that I don't want to disappoint, fine, totally cool. It's going to happen. But if it's up to me and it's on my timeline and I give myself a deadline, depends on my level of excitement. So just hasn't been my thing. But I always talk to God, and God showed me so much. And if you've watched episodes before, you understand that I have acquired a deeper level of spirituality because God led me there, and I asked and I received. It's just so much deeper than your typical Georgia Southern Baptist teachings, man. Like, that's my background. And it wasn't even my background until I was in middle school and able to really, make decisions for myself. Okay? And I did have some early influences, but the point of the matter is I asked questions. I could have just left it all behind, but and if you watch other episodes, you can understand more of my story, and it will make sense of more where I'm at now. Before, quiet time is, worship music every once in a while, singing, going to church, watching near-death experiences, a lot of YouTube videos, which maybe you're doing now. Like I watched 2 hours worth of a YouTube video before I even started this episode. So I totally get it. We're on the same playing field, my friend. But I got to a point where the YouTube videos, the sermons, the worship music, my prayers to God, me talking to God, me even listening to little nudges and, doing things for people when I feel led to do things or what have you, just kind of felt like it came to like a halt. Like I was going, but it was it was a steady climb, and it just kind of plateaued. And it was a long plateau before I realized that I was on a plateau. I had no idea. I was going up the hill. I'm going up the hill, and I'm like, oh, there's a little cliff. And so I go straight up, for a little hump over. So it feels like I've really accelerated, but then I'm kind of just steadily climbing until I reach the top, which is a plateau, which is where I reached. And I'm walking along this plateau for months until I realize I'm like, I don't even want to watch these videos or anything. Like I'm not learning anymore from them. If anything, sometimes I'm getting more confused. This isn't working anymore. And so that's when I kind of stopped watching so much YouTube videos or listening to sermons of preachers that I like or known or have helped me in the past. And maybe I would kind of read some of the New Testament, read me some good old Romans, But I just felt like I still wasn't learning anything. Like nothing was new. And I've heard all these stories about how people, come to faith by simply reading their Bible. Like, how? How is this happening? I know it's possible. I know God's changing people's lives. I know it's the Word. I just don't understand how it's happening because it's not happening to me. Like, I'll read it and I'm like, wow, that makes a lot of sense. That's a lot of wisdom. Yes, that's okay. I understand this is what is good. And then, then we go into interpretation, and that's a whole nother thing, which I did an episode on. But it's just a whole thing. And I'm just like, I don't feel like I'm not learning anything else. Like I've hit a plateau. And so I just stopped doing that stuff. And I'd listen to worship music every once in a while, and that'd give me a good little fill me up, you know? And then I would talk to God more. I would intentionally stop and pray, intentionally say, hey, teach me something. Hey, there's got to be more. I feel like I'm plateauing. And I wouldn't say that out loud or even in my mind, but I would feel, I know now that I was feeling that in my spirit and communicating that to God somehow, which is obviously how I got to where I am now. And then God did something crazy. He did something unexpected. So I'd already had this time of what I would call and I'm still currently in it because now I'm a stay-at-home mom, so I'm still by myself a lot. But once I got out of the military, there was a lot of me time. Like I went from being with people 16 hours a day to not dealing with people at all, or very few. And it was just like, whoa. And then my mind would just wander. And then before I know it, I'm just talking about God about all kinds of stuff. And at some points, like I know when I'm talking to God and I'm talking to myself because I talk to myself a lot. And then I also talk to God. Like they're different wavelengths. And if you're anything like me, you understand that. And if you don't understand that, there's definitely a difference. I'm not crazy. Slightly crazy, but not really. Just lots of time to think, try to piece things together. And for example, my husband loves cars. Sometimes it has been a detriment to him, but he's in a good place now. But we're not going to talk. That's not what this episode is about. The whole idea of me being a mechanic. It's like, I like to work with my hands. I don't know what I'm going to do after the Army. I need a career, yada, yada. Be a responsible adult. Let's take this path because I don't know what to do. I want to go into ministry. I want to go back into youth ministry. I want to go be a camp counselor. But my heart is so broken from the time of separation from my husband in the military that I just couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it. Long story short, my husband was still in for another 3 years or so after I got out. So I came to where we live now to go to school, go to car school, learn a new trade, and he's still at Fort Bragg. And it is Fort Bragg now, so I can say that. Thank you. I'm not going to get into that. It doesn't matter. It's stupid. So he's still living there. We'll just say Sanford, because that's where we lived. We lived in Sanford, and we went to Sprout Springs, and it's a lovely church. So if you are in the Fort Bragg vicinity, and you happen to come across this video and this podcast, I would recommend Sprout Springs Church. It's a great church. So anyway, I don't even know why I said that, but Sanford. So Sanford is where we lived, and I was driving from Sanford to, I don't want to tell people where I live. So I was driving from Sanford to where I'm at currently, which is 2 hours and 15 minutes, Monday through Friday, for about 6 months, till I couldn't hack it anymore. And I found a room on Craigslist, couldn't hack it with that person anymore, and I wanted something closer to school, just something different location. So then I found another Airbnb. So I stayed there Monday through Fridays, and then I would travel home on the weekends. So lots of time in the vehicle. 4 hours and 30 minutes a day, Monday through Friday for 6 months. I was in a vehicle by myself. I don't know how much time that is. How much time is that? Where's my phone? All right, 182 days, 0.5. We'll just do 182. Well, we got to take the weekends out. Redo that. Okay. How many weekdays are in 6 months? Business days? 540 hours by myself. And that's just the car ride. Like, that's not me coming home at 2:30 because school started at 6:30 and my husband not getting home until, 6 or 7. So, but that was 540 hours of no distractions. And then that was 6 months. And then I think this whole school was like 9 or 11 months. I don't really remember because I took extra classes. And then I would go home on the weekend. So that was another, 2 hours for that time period, which some things happened in that time period too. So lots of time. And then after school, I went back. I had a normal job for about 8 months until my husband got out of the military, and then we came back here. Okay, well, then we came back here and went back to the part-time job I had, which was at a pool company. And then I was by myself on the job for a year or so. And then I was like, I'm going to go to school. And so then I did online school. And so then I was home by myself for 6 months, and that didn't work out for me. It was a whole thing. I went for graphic design, and I learned nothing except for the fact that if I really wanted to, I could complete college and get a college degree. But I realized I'm going to college to learn how to do this, and they're expecting me to already know how to do this in order to pass the class. Like, this is stupid. So I dropped it. And I think I went back to the pool company as a mechanic, more of a technician for like pool equipment. So again, more time by myself. Then I ended up cleaning pools because people quit all the time because it's not a fun job. It's really hard, weather, blah, blah, blah. And then I'm by myself some more doing something I really don't want to do. And then I'm done doing that. Or maybe that's when I went to school. And then I ended up trying to find a different job. And I got a job with some people in a warehouse. And then it was just like a few people. And then my son was born. And now it's been 2 years. And I've been a stay-at-home mom. So, I mean, that's school was a year, 3 years, working a year. So like 4.5 years of me really being by myself most of the time. So lots of time to connect with God. And boy, did he show me some stuff. But recently, now that I'm a mom and I realize that I hit this plateau and I'm kind of searching. I was searching for a way to get out of the plateau. And I'd read my Bible every once in a while, but I usually went to the New Testament because I was like, I'm not going to understand the Old Testament. You know, I would read a couple of things and then God would show me some things. I'm like, okay, this is cool, but I don't get it. And then I find the podcast, The Deep End, which I always bring up because it's just making me learn so much from the people that are talking, from the guests that they have on, and then from God showing me outside of that, like through my church, through other random things. And it's just everything is connecting. And I'm understanding so much more. And I show that to my husband because it's like the guy is about business and my husband wants to start his own business. And he interviewed someone talking about entrepreneurship and God and how that relates. And so I got him to watch it. And then he got really intrigued. And he was already intrigued by another guy who is an archaeologist and has all these YouTube videos about the Bible and archaeology. And so his mind starts turning. And then before I know it, I'm understanding that the spiritual realm is very much alive. We have authority in it. We're supposed to learn how to use that authority, or we have to take it back or something. I don't know how to word it exactly. And the authority is given to us through Jesus, through his blood. And there's so many things that just like I can't even talk about because I don't really know what I'm talking about. And I'm understanding the actual power of saying Jesus' name. Like I always sang, there is power in the name of Jesus. Like that. Like I always sang that and I believed it. But now I'm to a point where I'm doing it. And this is something I want to bring up, which I think I've talked about before. I'm going to talk about it again. My husband would have night terrors. And I would pray over him, but I would say, in the name of Jesus, you do not have any authority here. Whatever. Be gone. However I worded it. I worded it a little bit different than I would word it now because I'm spiritually a little taller. But so I really started to believe in that. And we came across, deliverance videos on YouTube, and this other guy blew up, and then he's all about deliverance and the demonic and blah blah, and I'm like, okay, that's really cool, but I feel like he's missing some pieces, and so I kind of stopped watching him, but I did learn stuff from him, and then I started implementing it into my life when I felt like it was necessary, sometimes maybe more than I should have, but the point of the matter is, I saw that it worked. When I would pray for my husband in the name of Jesus for his night terrors to dissipate. And slowly but surely, they would fade away. Then they would fade away a little quicker. And then they would gone in the name of Jesus. And I knew this because he would wake up and I would ask him about it. Because if I didn't ask him about it, he wouldn't remember. So that lit a flame in both of us. And obviously my husband being, in his 30s and dealing with this for a long time, he's seeing the power in Jesus' name and how there's more to everything. And there's more to humanity and the sin that separates us from God and the authority we were born with because we were created in God's image. There's all these things. I'm like, what are you talking? Like, if you were where I was at 10 years ago, I would say, what are you talking about? You make no sense right now. But it's so real. And then I learned it was real. Then I learned about tongues. I've always heard about tongues, but then I was like, I don't even know what that is. And then God revealed someone in my life who actually spoke in tongues. And then I saw a video of them doing it because they were an elderly person. And then her mom was showing me, she's like, look, she's speaking in tongues. Isn't this wild and this crazy? And I was like, oh my gosh, it's real. And so then I randomly go on TikTok and just, this guy's talking about Jesus and I'm going to support him and just watch this so he gets a view. And then before I know it, he's talking about it and he's sending me to a YouTube video. And then before I know it, I'm literally in my closet and I'm saying, Jesus, I'm thirsty. I need more. I know that you have the ability to allow me to do this. I know that I can use it. I know that it will benefit me and others. And I wouldn't be able to put it into words then, but I know what it has done now. And so I'm like, and that's been, I don't know, probably been 4 months I've been able to do that. And I still haven't done it in front of my husband. So it's still like a very sacred thing to me. It's getting a little less sacred. But it was in that moment, I was like, God, when I doubted you and I prayed for the others with a pure heart, Holy Spirit showed up. You showed me who you were. You showed me the power you have physically. And I know I just know it's possible. You literally led me to this point. And now I know he's led me to this point to get me to more points. And it's all for a reason. Which, duh. But you see what I'm saying? And so then I got off the plateau. But then I reached another little plateau, which is where I'm going to get at today. But this time on the plateau, I look over and my husband's climbing up the mountain. He's on the other side of the plateau. The one that I've been with for 10 years now, 11 years, going on 12 in May. He's starting to climb up. I'm like, whoa, wait for me, dude. And then he's coming home and he's saying words like kingdom work. And I said, who are you? Are you my husband? I mean, just everything. Oh man, it's so sweet now. And there's a picture of him on my wall right here. He's got a shirt on that says, I love one woman in several cars. I'm the woman, and there's multiple cars. But that's okay. I'm not jealous because I'm first. And anyway. But God starts showing him things. And then God starts using him to lead me off the plateau and go up the mountain. I can almost cry just talking about this. Because all I ever wanted in my marital relationship was what God intended. Because I knew that was what was best for me. And God intended for me to be led by man. And now my husband is walking into this and he's leading me. And he's always been my rock and he's always been less emotional and all that stuff. But now he's leading me into kingdom work. As before, we kind of did that stuff separate. And I had more time to focus on it because of that period of separation I was talking about that I went through in my life, still in, but now we're on the same sheet of music. And I will say this is me testifying about prayer. I don't remember where I was, but I just remember being like, God, I don't feel like we're equally yoked. You said we need to be equally yoked. I didn't date him until he became a Christian. I did that part. I didn't have relations with him until we were married. I'm doing what your word says. And I feel like, even though I'm trying to do everything right, we're just not on the same page. Or if we are, he's not telling me and I don't know. And before I know it, he's leading me up the mountain, which is all I ever wanted. Because I wanted to follow God's ways. Because I knew it was best. And it's so awesome. And it's so beautiful. And so, I mean, this whole episode and a bunch of episodes I've done before has circumferenced the idea that prayer is real and it works. You study and you learn and you seek how to pray. I guess you talk to God, but really learn more about it. There's more, it's so more in depth than, all right, well, God, thank you for this day. Please continue to protect us. Thank you for not allowing my car to break down on the side of the road and getting me home. Oh, amen. No, man, there's so much more than that. Don't be a child. I mean, you have to have child faith, but grow in your faith. yeah, so that was my prayer, and that was my heart. It was like, I want to be on the same page. I don't want to argue all the time. We're fighting like brothers and sisters, and that's just part of marriage. But I mean, just this whole roller coaster of things. And then, we have my son, and then it's a whole new roller coaster, and we haven't even got off the last ride. There was no stopping up the next hill. And now we've gotten to a place where we've learned everything we need to learn. Prayers are being answered, and we're communicating like you're supposed to. And some of that's my fault. Some of that's his fault. Some of it's his good, some of it's my good. But the point of the matter is God has it in his hands. And one of the reasons God has it in his hands is because we asked him to hold it in his hands. We prayed, we obeyed. I'm a living, breathing testimony. And God has woven himself within this whole thing. But it started with brokenness. Me not wanting to be stuck in the cycle of brokenness, and me wanting to be healed by obeying God's design and his order, which has led to this. I was standing outside yesterday, or the day before, I think it was last night, and the stars come out where we live. It's beautiful. And sometimes I'm just like, you kind of get in that space where you start kind of comparing yourself maybe to other people, or thinking, I don't understand why things aren't working out. I don't understand why I don't have this. I don't understand why I don't have that. I don't understand why I don't have more. I feel like I could do more with more. But I have been on this path where every time those thoughts come up, I know it's not of God, and that God has blessed me tremendously. And even though sometimes it doesn't look like I have enough, I have so much. And I'm standing outside and I'm just like, wow. Could I have a bigger house? Yeah. Could I have a bigger yard? Yeah. Could I have a car that would get me back home to Georgia in one piece? Yeah. But holy crap, do I have everything? Like, the math doesn't add up. It really doesn't. Everything is just worked out perfectly. And I know we're not done with the blessings of maybe finances and stuff, and I have hope in that, but I'm content and I'm grateful and humbled by what God has given me. And all it's done is push me towards God, because I'm not holding myself back in bitterness or anger or jealousy. One of the 10 commandments is don't covet. That means don't be jealous of what other people have. And so me obeying that gives me peace. And I recently watched a thing talking about peace, and how peace is something about Greek words and Hebrew words or whatever. But peace isn't happiness. Like, peace isn't having all the circumstances just work out for you. Peace is an action. It's a choice. And I'm looking up and I'm like, wow. The world outside is falling apart, but what God's done for me. Look how God's blessed me because I obeyed. I have to tell everyone so they will get what I have. It's not like, wow, look at me. It's like, no, you can have this too. And so that's kind of where I'm at. And really, before my son was born, which was 2 years ago, I was really in that state of seeing that I would have jealousy creep up in me and doing something about it, and looking at everything I have and just being amazed and astonished and saying, okay, wow. And that has helped me with my weakness, which I wrote down in this book, this journal devotion thing I'm doing, which I'm going to get to. I wrote down, it's like, what's your weakness and what's your strength, your greatest strength and your weakness? And had other questions that kind of correlated to this. But mine was, I've always had hope. And maybe that's why things have worked out for me, because I manifested it and didn't know that I was doing that. But I've always had hope in things. But my weakness is having patience to get to the hope that I desire. So I have hope. I have faith that it can happen. And more often than not, it does happen. But within that timeline, I don't have the patience, and I'm trying to take control, or I'm trying to manipulate it in a way that I arrive to that destination that I'm hoping for. And I realize now that I don't have to do that. It's taking my peace from me. And so peace is a choice. So I'm choosing to be grateful. I'm choosing to have hope in that. And I'm choosing to say, God will get me where he needs me and wants me, and it will be the best for me. And I have faith in that, and I trust him. But I wouldn't have been able to say that a couple of years ago. I wouldn't even know that I needed to say that. But through the hardships, I've learned that I can trust God. And so with that, now that my husband's leading me, right, that's where we're at now. He's talking about these things like kingdom work. And before he really dove off into the deep end, we did a study with a group of people, and we did a study together over the book A Case for Christ. And that really kind of launched him. I keep pointing because he's right there on my wall. But it really launched him into going deeper. Because I had already been doing that. Because I just had time. Like, God had separated me. I had no other choice. But he never was really separated, and he chose. And I definitely prayed for that, like I mentioned, because I just felt like we weren't on the same sheet, and I felt like if we were, we could do so much more for the kingdom and like together and how it's supposed to be. So now we're going up hand in hand, top of the mountain. Well, then before I know it, he's a chronological order type of guy. He's a do a lot when you, okay, here's an example. He is I'm going to cut the grass, and I'm going to go down, and I'm going to come back up. And I'm going to do that the whole time, back and forth, until it's done. All right, we're going to cut the grass, back and forth. Oh, you know what? Let's just do this little section. Let's just do a circle, this little field. That way, in case I don't finish, the grass around the house is cut. If an airplane drove over the house, if you were in an airplane and you drove over the house after Jeremiah cut the grass, it would be organized lines. If you did it after I cut the grass, it would look like an image from the movie Signs, and aliens laid the patterns down for the crop circle images or whatever. So I'm all over the place. So I was already kind of reading my Bible and trying to learn more and understand more and get a grip on that, because I just really felt convicted in my heart that I needed to do that. I've already gone so many years, and I'm this far in my walk with God, and I still don't know so much. And so I was like, fine. But I'm going to do it like I cut the grass. I'm going to go all over the place. And so I start to. And I read a couple of books, and I'm like, oh, this book's only 3 chapters. Oh, I can say I got that book down. 66 books. I only got, I don't know, 60 more to go. 55 more to go. I don't really know. I even read, was it last week or the week before? I watched something about Revelations. And I just read the whole book of Revelations because I had time to. And I was like, I learned a lot. I don't remember anything I read, to be honest. I read like the first 6 chapters like 600 times, and that doesn't make sense to me. And so I read a little bit more, and this time I read the whole thing. And I was like, wow. But I feel like this isn't going to make sense until I understand the rest of this stuff. So by this point, Jeremiah is on, I don't know, 2 Samuel or something, starting from the beginning, doing his lines as he does. He might even be in Kings now. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, dang, man, that's a lot. I started to do it one time. I started to listen to it on the Bible app at work. And I think I got to Leviticus and I was like, all right, I'm done with this. We'll see how it goes this time. Right now I'm on Genesis. Tomorrow I'll start reading Genesis 27. That's how far I am. So anyway, so I get inspired to do that. And he has been doing this he does it before work, so it's off and on, but he started his lines, as I call them, I don't know, a month or 2 now. And then I finally realized that he's starting to walk up again, and here comes another plateau. I don't want to do that again. It's like, I want to do that. I'm inspired now because I just read all of Revelation, and I feel like I'm missing so much because I don't understand how we got there. So I was like, I'm going to open it up and I'm going to read. This is where it gets cool. I can't remember what came first. I think maybe I read like the first 3 chapters or something. And then, I did something else. And then I lay down on my bed, and on my nightstand, there's this book. And it's flipped over like this. Not the title. I'm like, what is that book? Because I buy so many books and I never finish reading them. I'm like, what is that? That looks intriguing. I'm in this reading, learning, studying type of mood swing here lately. What's this? And I look at it, I'm like, I have no idea what this is. And I turn it around, and it's the Bible in 52 weeks, a year-long Bible study for women. Okay, you're like, all right, Destiny, that's just a coincidence. Whatever. It gets better. My aunt got me this for Christmas, and I totally forgot, to be honest. And I remember opening it, and I was like, oh, that's cool. I really like that. I really appreciate this gift. It's a thoughtful gift. And then I was like, I'm just not the read the Bible in a year type of person. I've tried. I'm just not that type of person. Maybe this book will motivate me to do it, right? And then we get home and we unload everything and I said it and then I forget I even got the gift. And then here we are in this stage of life where God's trying to really show me some stuff and teach me some things. And I come across this book and I was like, perfect. Because I don't really care to read the Bible in a year or whatever. But I definitely want to be consistent and I want to read the whole thing and read it from start to finish. Like I want to understand what the heck is going on and then be able to go back and read it again and say, oh, this makes so much sense because of blah, blah, blah. Or this part in the New Testament makes so much sense because of blah, blah, blah in the Old Testament. And so I read this little thing and it's got a devotional. Week 1, there's nothing too hard for God. Basically, day 1 through day 6, you read chapters 1 through 21. And then on day 7, which would be my Sabbath, because I don't do Sabbath on Saturday. I guess it just depends on my mood. Basically, just catch up on everything you missed. Get to chapter 21. So it gives you room, gives you wiggle room, but also gives you a deadline and gives you grace. I'm a fan. And then it has this little blur, little read. My purpose is to encourage the encourager today. While you focus on your needs of those around you, remember that God has not forgotten about you. He hears your prayers and remembers your heart's desires and struggles. He hears your prayers. Oh, I just read that. And then it goes into, he posed a question to Abraham, blah, blah, blah. And then some things that I highlighted. God allowed it, but he did not ordain it. So that's when he's talking about Abraham and Hagar's relationships, who birthed Ishmael, when God was talking about Sarah giving birth to Isaac the whole time. But he didn't, he allowed it, but he didn't ordain it. He had ordained Isaac. So if you read that Genesis, the first part, that makes sense. Other thing I highlighted, that doubting hinders the progress to your promise. Well, there's a lot of things I doubt in. I doubt in my abilities. I doubt in, am I hearing God correctly on what he wants me to do? I'm doubting, not really now, but when I was reading this, and it's coming to mind, is doubting that I'll actually be able to get through and read the entire Bible. But doubting hinders progress to your promise. Maybe there's some promise. Maybe there's some revelation. Maybe there's some things that I need to learn. And if I doubt my ability to get to that point, and I doubt how God's leading me there and putting people in my life to lead me there as well, I'm not going to get to my promise. Another highlighted thing. When you replace doubt with faith, you give God something to work with. Another highlighted thing. Trust God to keep his word. So I'm like, okay, this is great. This is a little encouragement. And I read, and it's even got questions. Number 2, what has the lesson taught you about your faith? And then this is what I talked about earlier. What areas have you discovered where you're strong in faith? What areas do you discover your faith needs to be strengthened? So mine was strong in hope, weak in the waiting, looking for ways to control or manipulate. After the lesson, what are impossibilities that you will commit to prayer? Our future, our finances, some other things I'm not going to mention on this show. Career path still bugs me, trusting in the work God will have me do. That doesn't speak volumes to you. I don't know what does. Actions for the week. One of the things I have highlighted, intentionally respond to your doubts with declarations of faith. I wouldn't even know what this sentence meant if God didn't lead me to this point of, you are my child, you are created in the image of me, and you have authority through my son, Jesus Christ. Now learn how to use it for the kingdom work. That dang word my husband keeps using, kingdom work, kingdom work, kingdom work. I've heard people say that all the time, but when it comes from someone that's been quiet his whole life, it's a whole nother level of, oh, this is real. Okay, so that's where we're at with that. Then we get to week 2, which I'm on now. Haven't got very far, but this was the whole inspiration for today's episode. And that is, this is where it gets crazy. Not only did I find this book to help me along the way, I'm in my first couple of days of this journey. I'm optimistic. Haven't even got to Leviticus yet. But I'm like, where was I at? I start reading about creation and in the beginning and all these things. I'm like, okay, I hear you, but I don't understand you. Okay, God did this in 7 days. Okay, well, the days could be 1,000 years. I've heard that before. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, but what about this? Oh, God created this and then that and then this order and blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, this is... And I remember reading and getting to a point where I stopped reading and I spoke to God and I said, this is great. I love this. But this is supposed to help me strengthen my faith, not lose my faith, not weaken my faith, because it just doesn't make any sense to me. Like, what do you mean you did this or did that? Or what do you mean you created man out of dust? Or, whatever. I don't know. I'm just trying to think of things. That's not even a question I asked. But the point is, I'm just like, I don't get it. Like, I've always heard this. I always had faith in you, and I hoped in you, and I believe your word. But I also have a bunch of people in this ear saying, that doesn't make any sense. And I'm starting to think they're kind of right. It doesn't make any sense. Like, can I trust this? Because if I can't trust this, then who's to say I can trust the rest of your words? That you said this is your word. You said, this is true. You said that the Bible is inspired by God. You said that it won't be altered. And here we are 2,000 years later. I don't get it. How am I supposed to continue doing this? You have to show me what this means. Okay? And that's where I'm at. And then I just continue reading in hope and faith that maybe I'll just understand. And if I don't, that's okay. I trust God. We're in that stage of our relationship together. I just trust him. I don't get it. I don't understand it, but I trust you. And it kind of ended there. And I said, I'm going to keep going. And then the next day I read. And then I get to Genesis chapter 10, the descendants of Noah. I'm already confused up to this point. And then I start reading. These are the records of the generations of the sons of Noah. Shem, Ham, Jephthah, Jephthah. I can't remember how to say it. The sons were born to them after the flood. The sons of Jephthah were Gomer and Magog and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, that's enough. I'm going to take a break today and we'll come back to chapter 10 because I'm not ready for this. And I'm going to have to listen to my Bible app so that they can pronounce these names and these words so this even remotely makes sense to me being able to comprehend any of this. I was like, here we are again, God. I am trying and I don't understand. How is this going to help me? But I'm just going to keep going. And it was to the point where my son probably wanted my phone or something and I couldn't listen to my phone. I'd already been reading for a while. I was like, all right, we'll just come back to it the next day. And this is where the chicken eggs come into play. Pause for dramatic effect. So here I am at Genesis chapter 10. Pause. Move on with life. Here I am with chicken eggs that I give to my friend and deliver sometimes. And it's a thing. And sometimes I'll just bring them to her on Wednesday nights when I see her. But I was rushing. Something happened. I don't remember. And I forgot them. And I was like, well, I'll just give them to her Sunday. And then something happened where I didn't see her Sunday. And then I was like, I really need to give these to her or they're going to go bad. And these are nice ones. Like I specifically picked these perfectly for her to enjoy and not have to scrub chicken poop off for 3 minutes before she can enjoy her eggs. So I was determined to get these beautiful eggs to my friend. And then I was also determined to exercise more. And I was like, well, she always takes her dogs on the walk. So let's do this. Let's call and say, okay, I'm going to deliver these eggs to you. It'll probably have to be when Jeremiah gets home because I don't feel like dealing with Axel in the car and all these things. And then I have the bright idea, oh, well, are you still walking the dogs? I'll go walk the dogs with you. And then because I need exercise, yada, yada, and I'll bring you the eggs. And then my friend's going through some things and then I've prayed for her and all these things. And so that's kind of been like a part of my prayer life. And so God's been a part of that. So I kind of have that in the back of my mind on how do I be a good friend, yada, yada. Her house is a 5-10 minute drive from my house, really 5. I'm listening to this song. Oh yeah, now I remember the details. Here you go. You ready for this? So I have the radio on because I don't have my phone plugged up, so I'm not listening to Spotify or whatever. And I have it on a rock station because that's what I had it on last. And there's that song. And it's such a catchy song. And it's like, and it's just, I was like, well, this is really catchy. And then my spiritual spidey senses step in and they're like, should you be listening to this? Are you opening up yourself to, perhaps doorways or things you don't need to open up to? Should you maybe try to listen to something else? I was like, oh, I really like this song though. And then I was like, this is very catchy. This is definitely something that like the devil would put together because it's just that good and just grabbing, and it's rock and roll, and we know that rock and roll is a sin in itself. So maybe you're right. This is where my mind's going. And I was like, I'll just keep listening to it. It's fine. I won't step into that realm. I'll recognize that it's a possibility, but I'm not going to get trapped in the captivity. And so I rationalize, continue listening to this song because it's so catchy. And then it starts going, and it's like says Jesus, like it says Jesus Christ in one of the lyrics, and I'm like, ooh, they're probably not saying that in a good way. They're probably trying to preach some kind of political agenda. Someone hurt them in the church. I don't know. This might not be good. I'll change the words. And then I'm like, Jesus saves me, yeah. Just like jamming out, you know? And then it says it again. This just isn't working. And then here's my deal with God unknowingly that I'm really kind of communicating with God at this point. I'm like being tested perhaps. I don't know. And I said, okay, fine. I don't want to walk into something I don't want to walk into. I'm learning about the spiritual side of things. Let's just not open up any more doors. Like, I don't even want to deal with this. I don't even know what I'm doing yet. Okay, let's just be careful. Let's tread lightly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to press the next button on my radio. And depending on if it's a commercial, I'm just going to go back to the song and I'm not going to worry about it. Or if it's something I like, I'll just keep it there. But if it's a commercial or something I don't want to listen to, I'm just going to press the button once. And if it's just not something better, I'm going to go back because I really like the song. It's very catchy. And I just really like it. So I changed the button and it's a Christian station. What are the odds of that? Could be high. Who knows? So I'm like, okay, I see you. Let's see what you have to say. You have my full undivided attention. Not only is it a Christian channel, it's one of the parts where it's not a song. Because if it was a song, I might have just went back to their song. But it was someone speaking and doing a sermon. So I was like, let's listen to what God has to say. Because I said it in my head. It was like a split-second thought. It wasn't even this long, drawn-out thing like I'm talking about. It was a split-second thought. I'm going to change it. If it's not good, I'm going right back. Like, that's done deal. And there we were. And then I don't even remember what he was talking about, to be honest. It was something along the lines of, I don't even know. But I used what he was saying, and I was like, okay, I'm going into this situation where I might need to help my friend. I need to be in a good spiritual sense. Let's see what happens. And it was whatever he was saying, it was just encouraging me to keep going and doing what I was doing and keeping like spiritual, like just check on things. I was like, this is crazy. This is pretty cool. I wasn't expecting this. Like, God's really speaking to me. This is awesome. No big deal. Obviously, it wasn't that significant because I had forgotten now. It's been a week. And then I go and walk the dogs. And then I was like, all right, well, I really got to go home because I don't want to get home really late. It was already 8:30 by this time. Because I got to go home. And usually I'll say I got to go home. And then we talk for like 20 minutes. I was like, no, like this time I got to go. I've already said it once. Like, I got to go. So I get in the car. Radio's on. The guy's talking. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Another sermon. Let's see. What does God have to say? You know, split-second thought. I'm backing out. I'm getting on the path. Going out of the neighborhood. Kind of recognizing where I'm at so I can focus on what he's saying. And he starts talking about reading the Bible from beginning to end. I was like, what? What are the odds of this? That's 2. What are the odds that happen within a 45-minute span? Okay. I was like, okay, you got my attention. Then I get to the stop sign. Then I start driving again. And he's like, it's all great and you're all excited about it. And then you get to Genesis chapter 10. I swear to you, time froze in that moment when this man said that. I looked at the radio and I said, oh, what did this man he did not. There's no way. And he's still talking. I'm just so excited in this moment. And he's still talking like fluffer stuff. And I'm just like, wow, I can't believe what's going on right now. Did he really just say that? The fact that I even remember what chapter I ended on is insane in itself. And this man just read my mind. How? This is insane. And I was just like, I prayed for this. I wasn't really expecting an answer. And there's an answer right here. I'm getting an answer. Like, I'm driving. I'm literally getting an answer right now. This is insane. This is so cool. I need to shut up and stop being so excited so I can hear the answer. But I'm still celebrating in my mind. I'm like, God, I love you. This is crazy. And, it's kind of a long neighborhood. It's kind of like in there. And so by the time I get out of the neighborhood, I'm just like, wow. Da, da, da. So the whole time in the neighborhood, which is probably a minute or two long, I'm just beside myself. And then I start getting on the main road, and then I'm listening and taking in everything he's saying. And he's really breaking things down. He's breaking down chapter 10. We got all these names, and I'm just like, I don't even know what this means or if it's even important. And he's literally explaining the significance of nations, basically. He talks about how Genesis is the beginning of things. And this is the beginning of nations. So Genesis meaning the beginning. And now we're in a chapter where it's talking about the beginning of nations. And then he starts saying all these names. And then he's like, okay, remember this name when you get to Ezekiel, 36, 38 or whatever it is. Mog or the people from the north that's going to attack Israel, blah, blah, blah. Everything. Everybody's talking about this right now. Everyone's talking about end times, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. We're not there yet. We're in Genesis. But I read that. God had pointed that out to me. I don't know how I read that. And I literally read these things before big events happen. And I've never heard of lamentations, the word that means deep grief and sadness. It's a Bible. It's a book in the Bible that I read before Ezekiel, or started to read Ezekiel, and just talked about the grievance of God. And I literally read that. This is crazy. I wasn't really expecting to say this, but it was a Bible verse. I was like, I've never even heard of this book. Let me read this book. What does this mean? And I start to read it, and I said, this is very sad. And then for whatever reason, I Googled lamentations, and it literally means grief and deep sadness. I was like, oh, well, that makes sense. I kid you not, a couple of days later, a week later, they attacked Israel. The initial attack where they just went around slaughtering people happened. And once I got the shock, the emotions of this shock and what happened and how the world is really doing this is crazy, this is so barbaric, what is going on? Once that emotion subsided and I thought of God and just the history and all the things with the Jewish people and Israel and all these things and how it's so significant in the Bible. And I think about how God grieved with me before something happened and I didn't even know it. And he did that through the word. So the word is the living word. So back to Genesis chapter 10. He's talking about these names that I read in Ezekiel and then it's talked about in Revelation. I'm like, oh, wow. So you are showing me these things, and I didn't even really, I just was like, whatever, I have faith. And he's just showing me these things. I'm seeking, but I'm not seeking like I was before. I'm like, where's the answer? I have to find the answer. Where's the answer? I'm just like, God, I don't understand, but I trust you. And then, all right, here's the answer. What? And then I pull in the driveway, I text my husband, and I was like, I'm home. But there's this thing on the radio and I have to listen to the end. So I listened to the end of his little bit. It was probably 15 minutes long. And then they do the little commercial and they're like, I'm gonna advertise this because it's definitely worth listening to. Okay. They're like, so they did the Connect with Skip Isaac, but it was just go to connectwithskip.org, I think it is. Maybe it's it's .com. Just do Connect with Skip. It will come up. And then I'm like, oh, sweet, I can go to his website. So I pull his website over and then I go tell my husband something. And then the devil intervened and I got upset about something stupid. And that was the night. But the point of the matter is God showed up in a split-second prayer of me not even expecting, but me trusting, just believing in God. And then I guess that's what made me have a heart posture of being able to receive. And just honestly, that was probably a divine appointment. Me in the car at that moment, listening to that radio station. All these things had to connect and go in the line. My chickens had to lay a certain amount of eggs for this to even be possible. And the rain, it couldn't rain because then I wouldn't have 30 eggs and I wouldn't be as inclined to get the nice eggs. So many stupid little things for me to hear this 15 minutes explaining Genesis chapter 10. So that was the encouragement for starting this episode. Now I am reading the Bible front to back. Pray for me. Encourage me in the comments. And I would encourage you to listen to, you can do it on Apple or Spotify. You can listen to Connect with Skip Heitzig. So Skip as in like skipping, Heitzig. That's how you spell his last name. It is, you can probably just put Connect with Skip and it will come up. But it's on Spotify and Apple. And if you scroll down a while, he has Genesis Part 1, or Genesis A, Genesis B, Genesis C. I think I'm on the third Genesis. I just finished Genesis. And it seems like he's going through, maybe he just went through Genesis, but I needed it at that time. I don't know, I haven't got that far yet. What I'm getting at is God has provided. And if you walk with him, you seek him, and you listen, he'll get you where you need to go. And I guess to end this, maybe you're asking, where do I need to go? Well, first off, obviously you need to go to God, but then God's going to send you out to be a servant because God wants to use you. Why? I don't know. There's a whole thing. We could do a whole episode, but the point of the matter is go to God, seek wisdom, seek understanding, seek trust in him, and he will guide you to your calling, which is to serve others. Recently, I was listening to something, talked about how it's not a popularity contest. It's not. I'm like, facts. Got it. I knew that, but I'm glad you put that into words. It needs to be spoken out because it's not. There's something else and I forgot. It's not a competition. It's not a matter if you can accomplish something for God before someone else. It's a matter of saying yes and working towards it and getting to where God needs you to be, and he'll get you where you need to be on time. That's what divine appointments are for. And last, I can't remember who was talking about it. It might have been multiple people talking about it. And it might even been, some of it might have been one person, another person, and some of it might be my thoughts. But putting all that together, Jesus told somebody, I came to serve. And as a Christian, you're supposed to be mini Christ. You're supposed to be like Jesus. You're supposed to serve. You're supposed to love. You're supposed to sacrifice. He came as dust. He was born in dirt and grit. He wasn't born in a castle. And then he served. And then he took people with him. So if we're supposed to be little Jesuses, then we're supposed to be trusting where we are, content where we are, grateful for where we are, but moving forward to where we need to go and bringing people with us, being kind, learning our authority that we have through Jesus, through who God has created us to be. There's a whole bunch of other stuff that I've learned that I don't have time and I don't have words to put it into, but there's a whole nother level I haven't even talked about. But I hope this is an encouragement of me bringing you along with me. Just start at chapter 1, man. Just start. Because if it's anything like what's happening to me, it's been pretty good. It's been encouraging, and I got a lot of things coming up in the future that you'll know about soon, where I'm like, okay, it's time to focus. It's time to focus. So this might be a message for you saying, it's time to focus. Get off the plateau and start climbing, brother. Let's be like Christ. Loving, kind, knowing our authority, knowing the love God has for us, and sacrificing, and then being a walking testimony of God's glory. See you guys on the next episode. I hope you enjoyed this one.